said, wait a second, and he came back in 2 minutes. Yes, it is medical practice. And also, inspector didn't know who the Joseph Federico is.
Okay, that's odd.
Yeah, she said, who's that? Who's telling LED is okay to use?
All right, well, she said she's going to take care of it for you.
Okay, so,
I mean, he doesn't get any higher than that.
so more than taking care of exceptions, could the board put out a notice that says any inspection report that has a LED notice on it is reviewed by the board, and if it is only an LED device, no citation will be issued?
We would not be able to put that out until we have a regulation that says that LED is not an invasive procedure. The way our book is written right now, we could cite. We're choosing not to. We're not going to put that out in writing.
And they're trying to update it as quickly as possible so that they can not cite and follow the rules at the same
Okay,
time.
so do you understand that's really confusing?
Yeah.
No, I understand that it's confusing, but that's one of those things that came out after that. So they're trying to catch the regulation up with the treatment. So I think the good news is at least we have a board that pays attention, and,
Right.
it feels really slow. But my experience in working with other boards and trying to communicate on the master SD license with other states and just trying to the fact that there is a voice that's available, it sometimes feels like it's not really heard and it takes a long time. It's available. Like I know that they're moving as quickly, and the fact
and
that
we
they're
understand we've got to get it changed.
Right.
We've got to get it changed, absolutely.
So would you guys be comfortable with some of the SD blogs reporting from this meeting that the board is reviewing inspection reports with LEDs reported on them and citations are not being
Yes.
given? Okay, great.
And it's been said publicly in our board meetings as well that we're not going to cite for that too. So, absolutely.
Okay,
All right.
great.
We're going to move on to the third hot button topic right now, which is it has to do with the term massage being changed to performing services in S984E. Can you give us the official wording change, and then we can go from there to learn more about it?
Okay, so the official section of the regulation says no person working or training in an establishment or school shall perform services, which it used to say massage on any person, and we're changing it to perform services upon a surface of a skin or scalp, because keep in mind this covers every license type, where such skin is inflamed or broken, e.g. abraded or cut, or where skin infection or eruption is present. Nor shall a person working or training in an establishment or school perform services if the skin of his or her hands is inflamed or broken, or where a skin infection or eruption is present without wearing gloves. So if the person's performing services has something open on their hands, we don't want them touching consumers. If the person is a consumer and they have open inflamed infection, we don't want, whether it's on their face, whether it's on their hands, their feet, and it happens all over, we don't want, that person shouldn't have services performed. So I know there's been a lot of confusion with us changing the word massage to perform services, and the reason is because this regulation, one of the reasons we updated our health and safety regulations was to make it clear to everybody. And sometimes regulations and statutes are hard to understand for any of us. They're not written in the most user-friendly verbiage. So we really wanted to try to make them better to be able to understand, and we also translate all of our regulations, and we wanted to help with the translation process because that's also really difficult. The way it's such a technical writing for regulations that we wanted to make it more plain English so that then it even translates even better. So this, I know the concern was acne, and then we did post something on our Facebook page about we did not plan to take anything away from what estheticians do. But we did want to make it, clear, and that's why we put something out on Facebook, that estheticians can certainly perform services on someone with grade 1, grade 2, or grade 2 acne. Someone comes into your salon or spa and has grade 4 acne and has an eruption, you should be referring them to somebody else. Because that's not in the scope of practice. That would be treating a medical condition, and that's not what estheticians are licensed for. So that was our intention. You will never see the board put in writing that you can treat acne, because we would have the medical profession not very happy. Excuse me. But we do know that you can provide services to clients that helps prevent acne. You can provide facials to people with acne that helps
supportive services.
Supportive services. That's nothing we want to take away. It's nothing that's changed at all. You have been doing that. You can continue doing that.
The reason we don't want to say treat acne is because the medical board will be on us so quickly, and they were actually snooping around when this Master Esty thing came out, trying to take more away, and we just need them to just chill out. I don't care what have them think we're serving smoothies. It doesn't matter. They just need to just chill out. But they get very concerned about their medical license and the services they can and can't provide, and we need them to just, they don't want to do what we do anyway. They just need to keep doing what they're doing and leave us alone. But if we start using like, well, I treat acne and I can cure acne better than a doctor, and I don't believe in antibiotics, and I don't believe in retin-A, and that's your great belief system and how you can service your guests in your salon or spa. And if you want to call them patients, and if you can, when you start using a lot of medical terms, it starts shooting off a lot of different red flags that you just really don't want those people snooping around. And if you want to fight that fight, you can, but it opens up this other bag, and people are going to start knocking. When you use words like that, and your client, from a liability perspective, potentially has a reaction, and Jesse can speak on that, when they say, well, she was treating my acne, and she was doing this, and they start using terms, and your client consultation forms start to say things like patient and treatment, and they have a problem, then they're going to look like you're practicing you're running a medical practice, and you're not selling yourself like an esthetician, you're selling yourself like a doctor of acne. So stick to our scope of practice. Nothing has changed. We need to make sure that this gets defined so that it's clear. Really, you shouldn't be doing anything on big open sores, staph infections. This includes all of those things, not just cystic acne. It's anything that's open like that on the skin. But, yeah.
Hi, my name is Laura Cooksey, and I am the owner of Face Reality Acne Clinic. So needless to say, I was very, very concerned. And I am concerned with this change in wording. So what would it take to have the regulations include the words that estheticians can perform services on acne skin?
I think that it goes back to what Dee Dee was talking about earlier with threading. If you want us to get specific about really defining what type of skin you can treat or provide services on, then we're going to open a big can of worms. I mean, I don't think you want us limiting your practices to certain levels of all kinds of skin conditions, because acne is just one thing. We went to the training class earlier about rosacea, and we walked in there thinking, well, estheticians shouldn't be, touching rosacea, and it was a great class and made perfect sense. So I don't know that we would ever want to describe
what you can and can't
what
do.
you can and can't do.
Because if they forget something, then it's like you can't do it.
Well, my fear is that now it's so, the wording gets vague, and so now it's open to misinterpretation.
You do not want to put medical terms in here because they're going to start taking stuff away from you. They were already, that Lancet thing, they just started fishing around and they got too into it, and that's why it got pulled out. We need them to just
And keep them,
chill out.
one of the things that
Not
we
you,
learned,
like we need them to.
right, with the esthetician bill was that, and again, I totally agree that this has been it's been rough, but it's been a great learning process, and estheticians have come out, you guys have come out strong. Strong, and that's really good. And this board, the board, and I'm the executive officer, so the board members are appointed by the legislature. I work for the board, and they listen. Our board is one of the best boards in our department that when you come to our meetings, they listen. So I really, one of the things that happened was the Dermatologists Association started making comments to legislators that estheticians should only be working in the stratum corneum. And I had never heard of the term stratum corneum before because I am not an esthetician. And so when
Then she called me.
But we don't, we can't limit you to work in just the stratum corneum. That's ridiculous. So we don't want to be specific on what you can do. And let me tell you something else what happens with our board. We're for consumer protection. If somebody were to come to the board, we should never be entering a facial room if there's a client in the room. And if anybody's had an inspector enter a facial room with a client in there, that's a problem and you need to talk to me. We should not be doing that. So you're performing services, you're doing your skin analysis that you've been trained to do. If God forbid you injure somebody, they would come to us. What we then do, we would consider that a consumer harm case. The first thing we're going to do is inspect the salon and see if there's anything illegal in the salon that's going on. But then we're going to look at the person who's been harmed, and they're going to send us pictures. They're going to send us doctor's information because they've gone to their medical doctor. And then we're going to take all that information, and we have a group of what we call subject matter experts. So it would be a licensed esthetician that we would send that to. That subject matter expert would review all the evidence. And it's an evidence of, we're going to talk to the esthetician, say, how'd you perform that service? Was there, they're going to tell us, well, we did our skin analysis. We did, they followed all their protocol. There was no eruption. But so that's the whole process. So with the treatments, we would determine that if somebody was harmed later down the line, an expert would be looking at that and then may or may not come back to us and say, this person worked on grade 3 acne and they shouldn't have, if we could ever even determine that. Mm-hmm. So again, I just don't think we want to be specific to make it limit you, because we believe as licensed estheticians, you know what you're doing. I'm certain everybody in this room, is passionate about what they're doing. And it's your skin analysis that's really the main focus, because you shouldn't be working on skin with an open eruption, and you know that. So if we start putting things in regulation for limiting things like grade 1 and grade 2 acne, then we're going to have to go talk about rosacea, and then we're going to have to talk about a lot of other things of skin conditions that I heard today this morning, and we don't want to do that. Because that would really, I think, my own personal opinion, I think that's going to impact your business.
Okay, we have a question back here.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Just real quick, 2 things. If we were able to bring back this bill, under that 1,200-hour standard hours we want to get, could it include these things that we're talking about that we're not supposed to be doing?
Well, the only thing that I think we could probably get a little weight behind, because it is in the current textbook and it is done in other states, is something like the Lancet, because we do have bloodborne pathogen curriculum for like the electrologist, for example, and also for barbers using a straight razor. There is curriculum that exists, so that's sellable. We could look at somebody and say, there's already people within our current board of barbering cosmetology under the board that are doing these things. Barbers are using razors and they're putting them in the sharps container. Electrologists are using needles and so we have that history of being able to train people to do that. So I feel like it's sellable, but it's going to take some money and some lobbyists, because I had to meet with some of those medical people at the end, and they were like, you're not doing lasers, you're not. And it was like me and 5 dudes in suits, and I was like, all right, now I have to wear really high heels. They're following me around. And it got really intense, because they're afraid if they let one thing in, they let the Lancet in, then we're going to try to do lasers, and then we're going to try to do Jesners, and then we're going to try. And what I was trying to convince them is, we're doing the extractions that the doctors that you're representing, they don't want to do anyway. We're not taking anything away, but that's their main concern. So it's possible. But I still don't think we would ever want to start to identify when there's medical terms in a medical dictionary. We don't want that stuff. We don't want to say that we're treating that because it just opens up this crazy, even though we're talking about it, I don't think we
So
want
there's
that
a
in
certain
that book.
language that we need to learn, right? About how we say what we do, so it's not going to interfere, and we have to learn that language. Blemish. That's a good word.
Well, and if someone has acne, they have acne, but you put yourself in an interesting liability perspective when you say things like, you have rosacea. As
Right, we
opposed
can't-
to,
yeah.
Have you ever been diagnosed with rosacea? Does anyone in your family have, I mean, you guys are smart, you can figure it out.
Yeah.
But we can't say, okay, the next time you're in Mexico, pick up a bottle of 2% retin A, and then what I want you to do, like, you can't start prescribing stuff like that. The docs are gonna freak out.
It's the work of the
Yeah.
blemish is interpreted by the FDA as a mark on the face. You're not allowed to say. No, a blemish is just a mark on the face by the FDA. No, it is not. I worked with the FDA. I worked with the FDA. Well, when the FDA comes in and inspects your manufacturing plant and they see blemish, don't find them. I'm a manufacturer, so I'm not being fine. And I put you in the regs there.
Okay, ma'am, can you please stand up and ask your question?
Okay. My name is Yvonne, and the only thing I want to say two things for you about the acne. I think just all this is just about money, and we don't have the money that doctors have. Even if we go and raise money, we're never going to have the money that doctors have, because I guess we will be all doctors, right? And we might do better job than a dermatologist, that's for sure. And the dermatologists all need us because we're better in many other things. But unfortunately, if they want to put a finger in us, we're just garbage. So that's why is the opening a can of worms is really the right term, because it would be bad for us. And they only need to move a few fingers because they have the money that we don't have, even if we have money. That's one thing. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is, what about the people who do the nail people that only have license for nails? All over, they're doing waxing.
Yes, they're keeping us in business. It's a $1,000 fine. File a complaint if you know of somebody who's doing waxing that doesn't have a license, and we'll be out there within 30 days.
All
They're in
right,
every
so
corner.
we're